to the fifth episode of A Girl in Love with Tech podcast. My name is Rachel Irabor. I'm a Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador and a Power Platform advocate. So, welcome. And our special guest for today is Keith. And
Hi
today,
everyone. Hi Rachel.
yeah, hi. And today he's going to be sharing about his journey into Power Platform and other areas on how he works with Power Platform. So, hi, Keith. If you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again, Rachel. Thanks for having me
Yeah,
on your podcast. I'm a fan
yeah.
of your podcast, so it's great to be
Thank
here.
you.
Yep. So my name is Keith Atherton.
Thank
I'm
you.
I've been a software developer for over 20 years.
Wow.
I've worked throughout the UK and throughout the USA. I've travelled a little bit as well.
Okay.
I'm currently living near Edinburgh in Scotland, and I work for an
Yeah.
IT consultancy called Coram.
Okay.
Um, and I guess a summary of what I do lots of software development, lots of architecture, lots of
Wow.
consulting with clients. So it's quite a nice mix. Um,
Yes, it
and
is.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's nice and varied. And over the years as well, I've worked for many different sectors, things like retail and
Okay.
finance, and even
Yeah.
game development and many others as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a brief introduction to me.
Yeah, that's amazing. Nice to meet you. And there's one other thing I want to learn about you. I would love to know because I have seen a lot of people that have come into the community, either they switched careers or or they just came they started their journey in Power Platform. So I would love to know how you started your journey in Power Platform. Like, how did you know about Power Platform?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think
Yeah,
over the years I've been a developer, which has mostly been coding first. So it's
yeah,
mostly been what some people would say professional developer or coder.
yeah.
I'm not sure
Pro
what the right
developer.
term is. Yeah, pro developer. I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe. But it's something that I've always built things from the ground up using the code, and I've not used
Okay.
many low code solutions before. So when I'd started a new job just recently in the last couple
Yeah.
of years, one of the first tasks I had was to create something using the Power Platform.
Yeah.
And that was brand new to me. I'd heard the name, but
Wow.
I'd never used it. And I thought,
Yeah.
okay, well, I like learning new things, so that's
Yeah.
exciting. But equally, I didn't know what it was. So when I read up and I did a few tutorials, Microsoft Learn was particularly good for this.
Yeah. It
And
is. Yeah.
what I needed to do really was create a solution that had a Power App. That was the main focus with some Power
Okay.
Automate flows. So it was just
Okay.
part of the Power Platform. It wasn't using everything.
Okay.
I had a kind of, to be honest, I had mixed emotions because I thought this is so easy. I can create something really quickly. I can click and drag and I can
Yes,
resize,
it's
and it's
amazing. Yeah.
this is great. And then because of my background as mostly as a coder, I looked at the code and I
Yeah.
thought, it's not the same kind of programming language that I'm used to. Let's say if I
Yeah.
use C sharp, I use a lot of .NET.
Yes.
I might be used to using object-oriented programming style, using sometimes advanced things with concurrency or threading or other things.
Yeah.
You don't always need those things, but again, having them available is quite an attraction.
Yeah.
So one of the things I saw the Power Platform is while the language was, a bit like Excel formulas, quite
Yes. Yeah.
straightforward to use,
Yes. It is.
it also made me think, could I be potentially limited? What could I do? It doesn't have the same features that I was used to before. Um,
Yeah.
but to be honest, the more I used it, the more I enjoyed using it, and I
Yeah.
realized actually it's really powerful. You can extend it using code if you need to.
Yes, we can
Um,
extend it. Yeah.
yeah, exactly right. You can use that concept that we hear these days about fusion development, where you could bring
Yes.
a professional developer with
Developer.
a, yeah, a citizen
Yeah.
developer or a citizen maker, and bring
Yeah.
them working together. And that's what I did on the first few projects. And actually, I
Wow.
really enjoyed
That's really
the
amazing.
experience.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's really amazing. Like I love Power Platform because Power Platform was like a big opportunity for me to come into tech. And one other thing I've noticed too is that a lot of people are scared of coming into tech. They feel that okay, since it's tech, I have to code, I have to learn programming, I have to do so many things in order to start a career in technology. But with Power Platform, like you can build solutions, you can build applications, and you are not coding. Like you have the options not to code. You get me. So that's really amazing, and that's why I actually love Power Platform. So for our listeners who are listening, and maybe this is the first episode they are listening to, so what do you say is Power Platform? If it's the first time they are hearing Power Platform.
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually.
Yeah.
The Power Platform really is Microsoft's Power Platform. It's the low code or no code way of building solutions.
Yes.
So rather than other technologies, which might be like C Sharp or Java, where they're just programming languages,
Yeah.
with an ecosystem, the Power Platform is its own ecosystem. It's made
Yeah.
up of several parts. So the main parts are Power Apps, where you can actually
Yes.
create an app, just as you mentioned.
Yeah.
You can use that on mobile devices or PCs or other devices too.
Yes.
You've also got Power Automate flows, so that's where you can
Yeah.
actually set triggers and run things on
Yeah.
schedules and
Automate.
so on.
Yeah.
And I won't go through them all, but there's a few other parts like Power BI. So that's where you can
Yes.
create different reports and charts and
Yeah.
dashboards. So it's kind of a good all-in-one. You can just take the parts
Yeah.
that you need to use it and build a solution for your organization. It's really
Yes.
powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, so amazing. Like I love Power Platform. Like apart from the tools you mentioned, we have Power Pages for websites. We have Power Visual Agent also, which you can use to build chatbots, and it's really amazing. So there's one other question I want to ask. Like you mentioned, you actually work with Power Platform, and you got to work with Power Platform from being a developer, and you got aware of okay, there's Power Platform, and you can build solutions easily with Power Platform. So I would love to know how is your day-to-day like working with Power Platform, with the tools in Power Platform?
Yeah, that's a good question. I use it almost every day in my current job.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and my job's quite varied as well. It depends which client I'm working with or which project. They may have
Yeah.
different technologies, different languages and databases and so on.
Yeah.
Um, but some of the main projects that I work on with Power Platform are designing new solutions. So this could be doing the
Okay.
architecture of being aware of, just as you say there, all those different components of the Power Platform.
Yeah.
Could they be used for a customer to replace an existing system or to create a brand new system?
Okay.
Some of the important questions around that could be, would there be technical or non-technical people working on the solution to make changes to it?
Yeah.
So I then need to be aware of, well, Power Platform could be a good fit for this customer. They might
Okay.
not have a team of coders who know how to do things.
Yeah.
It might be some business analysts or people willing to learn the Power Platform.
Yeah.
And I do find that it can be quicker to learn that than say, some programming languages that can be quite powerful and quite intimidating
Okay.
when you first see them.
Yes,
Um,
that's true.
so yeah, a big part of what I do is all of the parts of the Power Platform. I've used them all in different
Yeah.
capacities, but the main
Yeah.
focus of really Power Apps and Power Automate flows, and some Power BI. They're probably the main three that I use very, very often.
Yes.
So
Yes.
again, create new designs, actually building them, which I'm actually doing this morning. I've actually got
Yeah.
other screens open with Power Apps open right now. Um,
Okay.
and the great thing with using the Power Apps as well, I tend to create mostly Canvas Power Apps so I can control the user interface. But that
Yeah.
means I might be using the client's logos, their own branding, their own colors.
Yeah.
So I can actually work on the front end just as you can with Power Pages as well.
Yes. Yeah.
But I can do the coding underneath for the back end and the connectors and the
Yeah.
Dataverse and everything else as well. So it's
That's
varied,
true.
but I enjoy the variety. So it's great.
Yeah, I love that's why I love like I have so many reasons why I love Power Platform. Like you said, using the back end code, stuff like that. So even when you are a developer, you can actually extend your app with Power Apps. So you are not limited, you do not have limited options that okay, I'm already an experienced developer. You can't tell me to come into a platform where I do not have to use my own experience, like I do not have to use my coding experience. So even though you are a developer, even though you have no coding experience. So like Power Platform is a home for everybody. Like you can come and relax, you can come and sit down. You can come and sit down and relax that okay, I can start here. This is where I belong. You understand? So another question I have for you is that I would love to know what do you think about Power Platform with your own personal experience?
Yeah, that's an interesting one because as I say, with my journey, I kind of came from mostly programming,
Yeah,
quite highly technical, sometimes simulations or game development, some
yeah,
quite intense things. And so when I came to it and I was trying to make the language work the way I wanted it to work,
yeah,
um, the more I learned what was available in my toolbox, the more impressed I was that you can do concurrency. You can run multiple things at the same time. You can make things efficient. But when I
okay,
first glanced and I didn't know enough, I just thought
yeah,
it's maybe a bit too basic. It may be
yeah,
a struggle to do powerful things. But the more I've learned about how you can make things efficient, um,
yeah,
the other thing that was useful from my background and might be from other traditional developer backgrounds
yes,
is that often we've got concepts about making things reusable and not repeating yourself. And there
okay,
are ways of doing that in the Power Platform. You can make reusable function libraries, almost like a
yeah,
class library in .NET. And again, you can reuse it in different parts of the application instead of
okay,
repeating yourself all over the place.
yeah,
Um, so it could even be something as simple as that, of using that programmer's mindset to make something
yeah,
efficient, reusable, and well architected. So I think that's really paid off for me. But
yeah.
again, it took me a while to learn those things, maybe the first few weeks,
Oh.
to realize, hey, there's more to this than I first thought. And that's why
Yeah.
I love using it.
Okay, that's amazing. I'm glad that you found your way, like you're able to understand that, okay, I can do so much with this platform. And there's one other thing I understand, like what you said game development. So, and we talked about you creating games with Power Apps. So I would love to know how that works because I can't wait to get better and start building things like start building everything with Power Apps. So I would love to know how you work on that. How do you build how do you build games with Power Apps?
Yeah, there are a few options, and I'd love to start. The more I do of this, I want to share more of it, and so people can make their own games and have fun with it as
Yeah.
well.
Yes.
And I'll be honest, there's a few different ways you can make games. So you could have a
Okay.
game that could be a text-based game,
Okay.
like a choose your own adventure where you get a
Yeah.
prompt, a bit like the Power Virtual Agents. You could get a prompt and then choose A or choose B, and you
Okay.
could
Yes.
maybe
Yeah.
go down the path. So that's one option
Okay.
for a game. Other ones
Yeah.
I've done in the Canvas Power Apps are things, whether it be like the game Wordle.
Okay.
There was a really good version there that
Yeah.
April Dunham and her team created as well,
Wow.
which was
Okay.
similar to Wordle, and it's something that I've played with and made, extended a bit more, made high scoreboards and done a few
Wow.
other things with.
Yeah. That's
Um,
really amazing.
yeah, it's really good
Yeah.
fun. If you enjoy using it, it's a good way to get started as well. Even if you started trying to make a tic-tac-toe or Connect Three, the noughts and
Yeah.
crosses some people call it. Even if you just started simple where you click buttons, or a
Okay.
Connect Four, or a word search. There's so many
Yeah.
ways it doesn't need to be Call of Duty with all the animations and everything.
Yeah.
Um, but
Okay.
and there's some really good people in the community like Scott Duro
Yeah.
who's created
Yeah.
Lemmings,
Yeah.
puzzle games using Power Apps as well. So it depends what kind of game, is it basic
You
and
want to build?
simple?
Yeah.
But I would
Yeah.
highly recommend people making something fun. I recently made an advent calendar, um,
Wow.
a Christmas advent calendar for the festive tech calendar, and I actually did
Okay.
upload a walkthrough for 30 minutes of how I created the advent calendar that anyone could follow along and make their own as well.
Well, that's amazing. I'll definitely collect the link or something so that I can get access to it. And I will add it to this when I'm posting this podcast episode. I will add it to it. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Great.
Like you're doing so much with Power Platform. I'm like, okay, wow. You're doing so much with Power Platform. So if you are listening, welcome to Power Platform. And if you have not started your journey in Power Platform, you have the opportunity to start now. It's never too late. So hi Keith, do you have any other thing to say?
I think I'm just privileged to be on your show, Rachel. I've loved the interviews you've done already, and I just really hope you keep this going and just keep
Yeah.
speaking to more people, because I've always believed that the more perspectives people get and the more
Yeah.
people you meet and the different backgrounds, is
Yes.
I agree as well. It's never too late.
Yeah. It's never too
Uh,
late.
if you really want to do this, I was lucky enough to go to the first ever Microsoft Power Platform conference in Florida a few months ago,
Wow. Yeah.
and one of the big focuses there was people who are career switchers who are
Yeah.
from non-technical backgrounds of all ages, from all
Yeah.
over the world, taking part in learning the Power Platform, and then sometimes moving into jobs using the Power Platform full time
Yes.
and getting a
Yeah.
job that they find fulfilling. And Microsoft have got a great program called the Power Up program. So that's really worth looking into if anyone's
Yes. Yeah. That's
interested
true.
as well.
Yeah.
But no, in terms of that, I think you've asked some great questions. But Rachel, if you don't mind, can I ask you
Okay.
a question?
Sure, you can ask me.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're a great advocate for the Power Platform and for
Okay.
technology in general.
Yeah.
Would you mind telling everyone how you found your journey in the Power Platform so far? How have you found it?
Okay. It's been amazing. Like when I started, I was actually lost because I started from I was not aware about tech when I started. I just got to know about tech and they had a boot camp in my state. So I was able to attend the boot camp and that was the first time I heard about Power Platform. Like I've not heard about Power Platform before. A week to that boot camp, that was when I heard about Power BI and I heard about data analysts, stuff like that. So it was very, very new to me. And when I got into the boot camp, during the boot camp, it was a boot camp for 10 days. During that boot camp, I was able to build applications, create chatbots. I was like shouting. So I was very happy, yeah, because I was not coding, I was just building applications, building chatbots, stuff like that. So it was really amazing for me. But for me to be able to say that okay, this is what I want to do, it took me time to decide because then I was not really seeing anybody into the Power Platform space. Like I wanted to know more about okay, with Power Platform, can I get a job with Power Platform? Can I build my career with Power Platform? I was not really seeing many people, and then people I was seeing on Twitter were mostly data analysts, stuff like that. So I was thinking that okay, let me just go for data analyst. But when I started, it was not really my thing. So when I started, but then I started seeing people online, like I started seeing the community, Power Addicts, started seeing many people online. I saw Azure, I reached out to Azure, April, and Fui, yeah, in the community where I asked them that okay, I would love to know how their day-to-day looks like so that in order to make decisions for myself. And I also felt that like in Nigeria, yeah, because then that was like early this year, February, then not a lot of people knew about Power Platform. Like it was not something that okay, you say when you say Power Platform, you see people who answer you that okay, they'll hold a conversation with you on Power Platform. Not a lot of people knew about Power Platform. So I felt that okay, since I have this confusion and this question too, I feel that a lot of people too, they also have this question. So I started a Twitter space. I had a Twitter space for 5 months where I invited different people from the community and I asked them questions, allowed people to ask them questions too, which was really amazing. So with getting that experience, and it was actually just the community, yeah, the community, that was what just helped me. And I also noticed that I was not learning really fast the way I wanted to. So I started teaching classes. Like the little I knew, I started holding classes with holding the Twitter spaces. A lot of people like they were asking questions, where can I start? How can I do this? So I was holding classes for them. I reached out to people in the community and we organized weekend classes. So I was holding classes. From there, I got to be more serious. I got to had to research, I had to start learning, and then I was getting better than when I started. Yeah. So that was what. So it was just the community. Yeah, that's the
Thank you
community
for
that helped
sharing
my
that.
learning.
No,
Yeah.
that's wonderful, and I really think that's a good approach. I've heard something similar before about learn it, do it, teach it,
Yeah.
and and that's what you've done, and you've come full circle with the journey, and a big part is giving back as well. So I think that's wonderful.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
My
Okay. So
pleasure. My pleasure.
yeah, do you have another question for me?
Um, what's next for you, Rachel? Where do you see yourself going? Are you going to get a full job with the Power Platform? I know you're studying industrial mathematics at the moment, a
Yeah.
very intelligent and very difficult subject.
Yeah.
Um, and I did a little bit of maths during my degree as well. I should say I
Okay.
don't have an IT degree. I have a physics degree, so we've got some
Yeah.
similarities there. But
Yeah.
after you graduate, do you have plans?
Yeah, I do. Like, I'm actually building my career on Power Platform because I love Power Platform. So I see myself working with Power Platform, and I'm also just following the flow, like just going with the wind, stuff like that. But I see myself building a career, like a full career on Power Platform. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well,
And
best of luck.
maybe, yeah, and maybe also extend to Azure, like stuff like that. Yeah. But
You know,
definitely.
I use that too, and it's great fun, and you can use them in collaboration as well. It's another good
Yeah.
part of the Microsoft ecosystem that helps create IT solutions. So I
Yes.
would recommend that too. I'm a big fan of Azure as well.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, thank you everyone for joining this podcast, and thank you very much, Keith, for joining us and for sharing your journey. It's really amazing, like being able to go from being a pro developer and working with Power Platform. And I love the way you're working with it. I love the extension, everything you're doing with it is pretty amazing. Yeah. So, thank you very much, and everyone, see you in the next podcast. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.